Hey there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of r/Entitled People Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen demands I lower the child support I receive from my ex. After that, am I the jerk for letting my daughter wear a tiara to my cousin's wedding? And after that, so you need a man to do all of that? Okay. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen does not get to lower anyone's child support. The only thing I'm lowering is my IQ, listening to you read all day. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen demands I lower the child support I receive from my ex. My daughter's dad, male 25, and his fiancée, female 28, want me to lower the child support that I receive. My daughter, who's 3, lives with me, female 23, and I go through the state for child support. They stated that the original amount he was approved for was too much and dropped down to half of that. I was fine with it at first. It would help pay for childcare fees and school supplies, and I've supported her solely by myself for 2 years now. I didn't get paid for the first or second month yet, and when the state started pulling from his checks, they complained that it was too much. They want to go down again to help save for the wedding. I feel conflicted because I'm happy that he's happy, but as a single mother, it's been a struggle. I don't ask for money from them at all, and they do not want her full-time either, which I'm fine with. My daughter means everything to me. They want to make an appointment to lower the amount, and I don't have the money at this moment for a lawyer to argue it. They both make twice the amount I do, so I don't understand the big deal. For additional context, I live alone with my daughter. He's engaged to my cousin, and they do not give me any information about where she's going with them and do not ask for her or call her outside of his weekends. Not the jerk. Your cousin chose to marry a man that already has a kid. Your ex is responsible for supporting his kid. Do not lower the child support. Your expenses will continue to rise. If you give in to this pair now, wait until they have a kid. They will double down trying to get you to reduce the child support because now they have a kid of their own to pay for. OP. The fiancé does have a kid already, and although I understand that kids are expensive, he does so much more for that kid than I've ever seen him do for his daughter. What worries me the most is that she works for the county that we live in, and I'm always living in fear that they'll use something against me, but this is the most affordable living area that the state offers. No, not the jerk. OP, he wants to keep his kid's food money to pay for a party. You should be asking for more, not letting him give less. Not the jerk. This money is for the well-being of your kid. You say that you struggle. You're struggling because he wants to be a deadbeat and not provide the financial support his kid needs and deserves. A wedding is a party. You do not leave a kid in need because you want a fancy, expensive party. Keep going through the state and insist on whatever the authorities consider appropriate. Your kid's father is a jerk for thinking that a party is more important than his kid. Well, what do you think? Should OP lower the child support or not? Please let us know. I think she should get more, to be honest. Few things irk me more than deadbeats who don't want to take care of their kids. Am I the jerk for letting my daughter wear a tiara to my cousin's wedding? I'm 32, female, and my daughter, Chloe, who's 4, has a fascination with princesses. She loves the color pink, wears only dresses, and has an array of tiaras she wears everywhere except at preschool where she can't, but she does have it in her backpack. My cousin, 33, male, Alex, fake name, invited us to his wedding, which was this past Saturday. Chloe was excited because she got to dress up and stay dressed up the entire time. She also couldn't wait to see the bride's dress. She asked if she could wear her princess tiara, and I said of course. We got to the wedding on time. However, the start time was delayed for unknown reasons. 15 minutes after it was supposed to start, one of the bridesmaids came out and told me that the bride, Jen, who's 31, female, was refusing to come out because my daughter was wearing a tiara. I thought she was joking, but she wasn't. Apparently, the bride was also wearing a tiara and wanted to be the only one wearing it. I told the bridesmaid that Chloe loves tiaras and always wears them. The bridesmaid said, "Not today she isn't," and told me it needed to be removed. I said no. The bride is a grown woman and was being petty over a kid's tiara. The bridesmaid left for a couple minutes, and then Alex himself came out. He told me to leave. I asked why, and he said because I won't tell Chloe to take off the tiara. I said this was ridiculous, and Alex said it's not my wedding, and when I get married, then Chloe can wear one to mine, but that I'm officially uninvited regardless. Others around me told me to just take it off, and I wouldn't. Alex's mom came over and escorted us out. Chloe was upset and crying because she feels she did something wrong, and I'm upset because I can't believe someone would be jealous over a literal 4-year-old. I also feel bad because Chloe was really looking forward to seeing Jen's dress because she loves wedding dresses, but literally no one is on my side. Am I the jerk? Edit. Someone asked if my cousin has an illness. I said no, but the bride has Asperger's, and they said that's important for you all to know. You seriously need to parent up and teach your kid that there's a time and a place for indulging your inner princess and a time and a place for sitting back, following dress codes, and letting other people shine. For example, at their own wedding. You were asked nicely, but you were petulant and entitled. You caused this. It's not over a kid, it's over your lack of parenting. There's a reason nobody is on your side. You're the jerk. I agree with this. 4-year-olds should be taught time and a place for attire. She didn't wear a tiara to preschool, as mentioned by the OP, so a wedding is also a specific occasion. I personally would find it cute if I were the bride, but everyone is different, I guess. I think the bride's wishes, while over the top here, should be respected. Yeah, wedding conventions are stupid, so it's a frequent gray area here. But no one's saying OP's a jerk for thinking the bride is being extra. She's a jerk for digging in her heels for no good reason, refusing to teach her daughter an age-appropriate lesson about etiquette, and ruining her daughter's day on top of upsetting the bride. I'd bet they were quick to yeet her because stuff like this is part of a larger pattern. I honestly think everyone sucks here. I legit wouldn't care if a 4-year-old had on a tiara at my wedding. I also would not refuse to tell my daughter she had to take off the tiara if the bride sent someone out to tell me that the bride refused to walk down the aisle as long as she was wearing it. The daughter now feels guilty and had to miss the wedding she was all excited for, which is a really crappy position to have put her in, OP. Sorry, but you're the jerk. Yes, it was absolutely over-the-top idiotic for the bride to obsess over a 4-year-old wearing a tiara, but once she told you to take it off, you should have removed it. She's the bride, it's her party. She makes the rules. Yes, your daughter would have been disappointed, but I guess she was even more disappointed to miss the whole event. Your daughter is literally a 4-year-old kid, for goodness sake. How insecure must the bride be that she feels threatened by something like this? On the other hand, you could have handled the matter delicately and asked Chloe to remove the tiara to defuse the situation. I think that would have been much, much better than letting them escort you out. For everyone. I'm going with everyone sucks here. Edit. You know, next time you know that the bride has Asperger's, mention it in the post maybe, because this makes you the jerk in the situation. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or the bride? Please let us know. So, you need a man to do all of that? Okay. Context. Since I, male 28, was 11, my parents have been divorced. My mother, female 64, got custody, and we would see our father one weekend every 2 weeks. I also have a little sister, female 25, so I ended up being the only man in the house. Growing up, our mother always taught us that we needed to participate in house duties, such as washing the dishes, taking out the laundry, preparing food. We would take turns, and during the week, us kids would take care of all of that because our mother would come back from work exhausted and expected to not have anything to do once at home. And we kind of were okay with that, only that as we were young, we would sometimes, often, forget to do stuff, and it would cause a fight. But we ended up learning to not forget. Only there are some tasks that wouldn't be fairly distributed. My mother always needed a man close so that she could give him some work to do. And even though she never remarried and only dated 1 or 2 men after she divorced, she always found some male friend or some friend's husband or boyfriend to whom she could ask for help. Until at some point, people started to realize that she was being close to them for the only purpose that she could ask them for help. Yeah, she's one of those tit-for-tat persons, where if she does something for you, you have to give back something equivalent or you disappear from her life. So basically, she lost a few friends. But at some point, I was old enough to be useful, and she started asking me for help on these matters. OP, the internet box doesn't work anymore. Can you look it up? It needs a man's brain to understand that. OP, I bought some furniture from IKEA. can you build it for me? It needs a man's brain to understand that. OP, can you carry luggage? Only a strong man can do that. OP, can you look up why my computer is being so slow? It needs a man's brain to understand that. And so on. I asked repeatedly that she looked at how I dealt with these things so that she could understand herself and fix it alone next time, especially when it was something so basic as to restart the internet box. But she didn't want to learn. She just wanted me to do it because she didn't want to have to deal with it herself. And it went on for a few years, growing from just restarting the box to piercing into walls so that she could hang mirrors and stuff. For info, I never did any of all of that before she asked me to do it, so I guess it made me learn it, which was a good thing. But what bothered me was that she just didn't care and expected me to do all that because it was normal, and me knowing about it or not was not a question. I am a man, so that's my job. And as I was growing up, and her still not learning anything, I got more and more frustrated. Until this one final time, I don't remember what specific task it was, where she told me that it was a man's job, needing a man's brain. I had a huge sigh, did the job, then went back to my business. Cue the malicious compliance. As some tasks require a man's brain, it's obvious that some others require a woman's touch, as we men are all about technique, big thinking, and strength work. So the following days, I started to wash the dishes and put them back anywhere in the kitchen, because, you know, us men have no idea about what goes where in the house. We just fix things and carry heavy stuff. I forgot to get food back in the fridge because, you know, that's already cooked, so it won't spoil. I overcooked my steaks, eggs, pizza, because, you know, I was so busy thinking about all this technique stuff that I didn't have the brain space to think about checking food. Laundry would be spread out to dry, one piece onto another, because it is more efficient as it saves space. And about cleaning the house, let's just say it was a waste of time because I could perfectly live in my own mess. Of course, it didn't take long for my mother to get angry at me for not taking care of the house, or for doing it so stupidly. To which I answered, sorry, I mean, you know, it needs a woman's brain to understand how to take care of a house correctly, which yes, is total BS. But so is saying that all the work she made me do was only for men. So at first she was dumbfounded, then the storm unleashed. It still is one of the biggest fights we've ever had to this day. Things calmed down and I went back to caring properly, until she asked for my man's brain again. From this point, I stopped caring. I would forget the laundry in the washing machine, let the dishes pile up in the sink, and would only do my man job. She would still get really angry, ordering me to do stuff, which I would ultimately do, completely half-effortly, meaning that she had to do it all over after me because half of the dishes were just out on the kitchen, not at their place. Laundry was all stuck together to dry and so on. Mood in the house was tense, and it wouldn't need much for a fight to blow up. Until at some point, she asked me to help her do this or that, not to do it for her anymore. So I helped. I showed her how to do it. I took time for it. We did it together multiple times until she finally learned how to do it. I then started taking care of my duties as I did before, and things went back to normal, finally. Am I the jerk for threatening to call the cops at a party? 8 years ago, I wrecked my motorcycle and had my right leg amputated above the knee. I get around fine with a good quality prosthetic leg. My friends helped me a lot right after the incident when I was really depressed. They're great guys, but they can be a little childish and frat bro types. I love them and they literally saved my life, but I've definitely matured more than some of them. One of my oldest friends, we'll call him Jay, just bought a new house and wanted to host a Super Bowl party. 2 of the guests are guys I know well, the rest are distant acquaintances. Well, my stump is itching like crazy. By now, we've all had a few drinks and everyone is pretty into the game, so I discreetly remove my prosthesis and prop it up on the couch next to me. Later on, one of the guys I don't know well sees it. He asks if he can look at the prosthesis. I say sure. He messes with it for a bit and then starts joking that he's going to pawn it. How much do you think I can get for this cyborg leg, etc.? I'm laughing along until he moves it to the other side of the room. Without it, or a mobility aid, I'm a sitting duck, so it makes me real nervous when it's out of reach. He says he's not done looking at it and goes to get another drink. When he comes back, I tell him it's not funny, I need it back. He holds it out about 10 feet away and says, "Come get it." Now, I'm not about to hop over and arm wrestle this guy for it, so I pull out my phone. make eye contact with Jay, and say, "Either your friend gives my leg back or I'm calling the cops." The room went silent. The guy handed me my leg back and said, "Jeez, man, I was just messing around." I left pretty shortly after. I was heated and the mood was awkward. Still, I didn't think that I was the jerk until Jay texted me saying that I overreacted. Now I feel like a jerk because I know I did ruin his party and yelled at his friend in his house. Jay pointed out I wasn't going anywhere, so I went off for no real reason. He's right. I wasn't going anywhere and didn't need it for any reason except that I get anxious when I can't get to it. It's part of my body at this point, and I can't walk without it, so yeah, I'm a little attached. Asking my other two friends, one said that I was out of line, the other said I was justified. Looking for a tiebreaker vote. Not the jerk. Holding your leg hostage to mess with you is far from okay. Forget that guy. Any person who saw that interaction and thinks that you were in the wrong is not a friend. They should all be ashamed of themselves. Not a jerk 1,000 times over. 100% not the jerk. In a similar story, I was at a party as a teen and a friend wanted to check out my new glasses. I get it. My lenses are kind of thick and no one ever sees me without my glasses because I can't see without them. I let him try them on, and after laughing about how terrible they were, he got up and left the room saying he was going home with them. I can't see without glasses and they were expensive. I literally could be 5 feet away from my husband, and without my glasses, I couldn't tell if he was a dude or a chick. And that jerk just laughed and ran off with them. I waited a minute, like, haha, very funny, but he didn't come back, and I couldn't chase him down because I couldn't see him. Everyone is a vague pinkish blur. I texted the host and said if my glasses weren't back on my face in 1 minute, I was calling the cops. The glasses are $600 with insurance. Got told I was overreacting, but as soon as I started to dial, bam, someone dragged the jerk back in and gave me my glasses back and made him apologize. Messing with people's medical aids is one of the biggest jerk moves someone can pull. You are definitely not the jerk, but you need better friends. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his friends? Please let us know. I've never understood how friends can think it's okay to just blatantly disrespect you. Maybe that's part of the reason I don't have any. At least you got me, Karen. Don't remind me. Am I the jerk for refusing to change my son's chosen first and middle name per my brother-in-law's request? So, my wife, female 32, and I, male 31, struggled with infertility for a while. My wife's now 7 months pregnant with a baby boy. We started searching for a first and middle name, and since I come from Irish origins, we decided to settle on my great-uncle's first name and my grandfather's middle name. We told my in-laws about it. My brother-in-law, a doctor with a superiority complex, thought the name was awesome. Unbeknownst to us, he and his wife decided to basically take not just the first, but the middle name and use them for their son, who was born 3 weeks ago. I was not pleased, and I hated that they basically stole the names, but my wife and I decided to ignore them and just keep the names. We didn't make a fuss out of it until my brother-in-law called to ask about the new names we chose. I told him we're still sticking with the original first and middle names we chose. He sounded confused, saying we no longer have a right to these names after he and his wife claimed them, and said it was strange that we're still planning on using them. I laughed and said that they didn't claim crap. Fact of the matter is, he and his wife stole those names from us and should deal with it. He got mad and demanded I put my wife on the phone, but we were both already on speaker, and my wife backed me up 100%. Brother-in-law then hung up and did 2 things. 1, send his family, father-in-law, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, etc., to come at me specifically. And 2, send long lists of first and middle name suggestions, demanding we choose from them and leave him and his family alone. My wife got into a fight with him just a day ago and told him he and his wife didn't even choose those names out of love, but out of spite to stick it to me for no reason. Father-in-law came over in the evening and started yelling at me, accusing me of turning his daughter against her brother, calling me a pity jerk, and claiming I own neither of those names despite having familial ties with. I said if I don't own those names, then his doctor's son sure as heck doesn't. I told him to leave, but he kept arguing till I said I'd call the police. He left then, but is now getting mother-in-law constantly calling my wife, telling her to do the right thing if she still wants a relationship with her nephew. The The conflict gets worse, and my wife's caving in and cracking under pressure. I keep refusing to change the name. So Reddit, am I the jerk here? Not the jerk. He basically said, hey, I like what you're doing, so I'm gonna, and you can't. That's not how the world works. Also, that family sounds messed up, man. OP. Exactly, and pretty much sums up my brother-in-law's attitude. No one says anything because, hey, he's a doctor and deserves respect and grace for being a hardworking man. In which case, this should be your hill to die on, and they're also going to be treating your impending baby in the same condescending manner. Tell mother-in-law and father-in-law that they're being put in a timeout, and they should ask themselves if they care about their future relationship with their other grandchild. Not the jerk. Y'all need to send a message to your in-laws that you're launching a cooling-off period of X days in which you will not be accepting communication from them. After that, the topic of names will not be mentioned, and each infraction will be met with radio silence. First infraction, 1 week. Second, 2 weeks. Third, 4 weeks. You need to make clear the subject is closed and that stupidity has consequences. When are they going to put out more breakfast soup? Was reminded of this today. Happened years ago. A regular stops me at a rather expensive buffet brunch place. We had breakfast and lunch stuff, light stuff and heavy stuff. You could get a fruit crepe at the same time as raw oysters on the half shell, steak tips, scrambled eggs, and a Belgian waffle. Then follow it up with cocktail shrimp and a blueberry muffin, a rather large selection, a selection that did not include breakfast soup. Hey, excuse me, when are they going to put out more breakfast soup? Breakfast? I'm sorry, what? We don't offer any kind of breakfast soup. Of course you do. I get it every time, but you're all out right now. I just want to know if you'll put it out more soon. Ma'am? Could you come with me and point out where the breakfast soup is? Then I can help you better. Fine. It's right over here. She then walks me to the line and points to the tray that normally has our hamburgers with mushroom gravy on top. Except we mixed half and half, 70-30 ground beef with pork sausage to make these patties. These very, very fatty, greasy patties. And we lined the pan with bread slices to soak up all of the fat and grease, and then laid out all the patties on the bread, and then covered them with mushroom sausage gravy. And even with the bread, by the time most of the patties were gone, the bread was almost swimming. Turns out, this lady didn't like the burger part, and she was just scooping fat-soaked soggy bread, hot liquid pork grease, and mushroom sausage gravy into a bowl, and just eating that with a spoon, aka her breakfast soup. I tried to very gently and non-judgmentally explain that the bread was for soaking up the fat and grease from the burger patties and normally was not eaten. I'll never forget her look of horror and embarrassment when she realized she had been eating essentially the fatty trash of this particular dish and absolutely loving it. I did tell her more would be out shortly, but she zipped it back to her table without another word, face turned completely red. It was 6 months before any of us saw her again. She apparently chose to forego the breakfast soup after that. Am I the jerk for refusing to pay the babysitter for new glasses after my daughter broke her old ones? I'll preface this by saying that I, male 35, am a widower with 2 kids who are 9 and 11. I recently got back to work, and since I work night shifts, I had to get the kids a babysitter. They're at school during the day, and my sister stays with them. I was able to find a babysitter with the help of a coworker. Actually, they're related. And things have been going pretty well, except for a few days ago. The babysitter called me while I was at work to tell me that my 9-year-old daughter broke her glasses. I got home, heard both sides of the story, and came to a conclusion that it was in fact an accident. But the babysitter said my daughter broke them intentionally after she refused to let her go outside late in the evening. I asked my 11-year-old daughter, and she said that the babysitter's story is accurate, but since she and her sister have a beef then, I figured she'd lied to set her sister up. My 9-year-old daughter cried and said she didn't mean it and it was an accident. I apologized to the babysitter for the misunderstanding, but she insisted there was no misunderstanding and then asked me to pay her for a pair of new glasses. I was taken aback by her request and told her I thought we talked this out and rolled it out as an accident, but she insisted it wasn't an accident. I apologized but refused and said it was unfair to expect me to pay especially since she didn't pay attention to keep her glasses safe, regardless of whether it was an accident or not. The babysitter argued with me and then started crying, swearing that my daughter broke them to get back at her. My 11-year-old daughter sided with her, but my 9-year-old said she is only siding with the babysitter for her own benefits. The girls started fighting, and I ended up telling the babysitter to leave. She got my coworker involved, and she said that I should take responsibility and pay the babysitter for new glasses since she cannot afford them being a broke college student and is in need for glasses. I apologized but refused to pay. My coworker got upset and shamed me for condoning my younger daughter's actions and treating the babysitter poorly when she's the victim in this situation. It's been days, and the babysitter is still wanting me to pay for new glasses, but I feel like she's trying to use the fact that I'm in dire need of help and is hoping to get extra money out of my pocket. You're the jerk. It doesn't matter if it was an accident or not. Your kid broke her glasses. You need to pay to replace them. You're the jerk. You are actually legally responsible for accidents as well as deliberate breakages that happen on your property to people you have employed. Quite apart from that, you are teaching your daughter that her actions have no consequences if she didn't mean it. Your coworker is right, and even your 11-year-old daughter can see this. Grow up, take responsibility, and make good the damage. If you don't, I hope she sues you, because she would win. You're the jerk. Do you even hear yourself? Whether it was an accident or not is irrelevant. However, in this case, it seems more likely that your younger daughter is lying because she's afraid of being in trouble. What is relevant is that your daughter was involved in breaking the babysitter's medically necessary equipment while she was working for you. I suspect this is not the only example in your life when you've tried to weasel out of paying for something you should be responsible for. Just pay for the new glasses already. If your babysitter is still babysitting for you while you do this to her, I hope she wises up and stops. Babysitters are a valuable resource, and this one is making it possible for you to earn your living. Am I the jerk for canceling my wedding because my family and my in-laws wouldn't shut up about it? I'm being called a bridezilla left and right about this, and my fiance is being called names for apparently doing as I say, despite that being a mutual decision. My family and my fiance's family have tried to have a say at our wedding in every aspect possible. How many guests we will invite, who we will invite, what kind of suit my fiance will wear, what kind of wedding dress I'll wear, what kind of venue we will book, what kind of food we will have, what kind of music we'll have, what song we will dance to. Everything we've planned, our families always judge and are unpleased and always have something negative to say. Planning our wedding has been more stressful and less fun for that reason. I feel like I can't have the wedding I want to have because they'll find a way to ruin it. At this point, I don't enjoy any of it, and neither does my fiance. We tried to make our boundaries clear with our family several times, and they'd get mad and somehow got worse whenever we tried to set boundaries. My fiance and I both decided we will not have our wedding, and we will just go to the courthouse with our two best friends as witnesses. And that's it. No parties, no venues, no receptions. Just us with our dream dress and suit with our two best friends. And after that, we'll book a restaurant to have some dinner with our 10 closest friends. That's all. Our families are controlling with the guilt tripping. Even my sisters, who used to remain neutral and even supported me sometimes, are now saying I'm taking it too far and that I'm manipulating my fiance about this too. They keep insulting us and telling us to change our decision. We demanded an apology from their behavior and then we might have our wedding, but they refused to see why they should apologize. We said we stand firm. Am I the jerk? Edit. Many people are asking who's paying. Our parents are helping us a lot financially, but we are also paying. Our parents use the financial support as a way to control our decisions. We wouldn't stand for that. They shouldn't offer to pay if they couldn't respect that the final decisions would be our own. For example, my in-laws refused to pay for the dress I picked because it was beige and not white. Our parents demanded we uninvite friends of ours to make room for relatives and friends of their own, and many other things. Not the jerk. We had our dream elopement. It was fantastic, best decision ever. Dressed up how we wanted, had a photographer. It was great. The best wedding is having total control. Hate when families hold their contribution over your head. Either help or don't help, but do not dictate if you are going to help. You're not allowed to be in pain because you're scaring your grandma. So I was working for about 7 hours yesterday. I'm 16, and I had a really tough day. I work at a grocery store and I was the only CC, my position, for about 3 hours. On a Saturday afternoon, for perspective, we need at least 3 CCs to keep up with all the work that needs to be done on Saturday afternoons, and I was the only one. So the work of 3 people fell to me. That's all the bagging, all the getting carts, the cleaning, everything. It was all on me. And it's the day before Valentine's, so we were even busier than normal. Oh, and it never got above 5 degrees Fahrenheit, and the wind chill kept us negative all day. All in all, I ended up spending over 2 hours outside, pushing carts like there was no tomorrow. The time I spent inside was mostly bagging for 2 or 3 people at once. So, as you can imagine, I was exhausted when I got home. I laid down in front of the fireplace and didn't move for about 10 minutes. My mom gets down beside me and tries to get me to stand up. She tells me that I'm scaring my grandma, who was staying the night at our place. My dad walks over, upset as heck, and practically screams at me to get up. I tell him, truthfully, that I physically can't move. He doesn't care. So I pull myself up, trying desperately not to pass out, and try to go upstairs to take a shower. Only after all of this do they bother to ask me what's wrong. I tell them, I feel like I broke my back. My mom tells me that if this is what I'm going to act like when I get home from work, that I need to quit. I tell her that this is pretty unusual, even for a Saturday before a holiday. For those of you wondering, there were multiple CCs scheduled for that afternoon, but the one that would have been working with me when I was alone got snowed in at a ski resort with no cell service, so she couldn't make it. She couldn't even call anyone, so she got marked as a no-show, no-call. That upset me because she texted me via Wi-Fi and I passed all that information on to the manager. So now I'm sore as heck and I'm pretty upset at the manager. Lucky me. Edit. For those of you saying that I'm working too hard, you're right, but I'm doing the work because they need me to do it. It's called work ethic. I'm not doing it because I'm getting paid through the roof. I'm doing it because I care. Working hard enough to be in this much pain shouldn't be cause for insult. Edit 2. Guys, I got a ton of people thinking that I'm complaining about the work. I get that it was too much for me to handle, and I get that the manager was being a jerk for not giving me at least a little help. But I'm not complaining about it. It's work. Sometimes there's tough days, and sometimes there's easy ones. Also, this absolutely blew up, so there's no way I can respond to everybody. But thank you for all of the support. I really appreciate it. And by the way, my back is fine. I just needed a few days of nothing to recover.
Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video.
Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.